FinTech. My name is Georg Ludviksson. I'm the founder and CEO of Meniga. We're a European company and we work with some of the leading banks in Europe and the world to help them improve their digital banking solutions. Basically, we sell them software and help them innovate and move faster and improve customer engagement. We have some customers here in South Africa. We work with Momentum, the insurance company, and also we're working on a project with one of the major banks. A few words about me. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Meniga is the third company that I start. Passionate about personal finance. I was the person who was helping friends and family with their money issues. And so started 3 companies, 2 in FinTech, and last one being Meniga. I am a software engineer originally, so Meniga's product are partly based on my kind of vision for the products. And but the last few years I've been more on the sales and marketing and business side. I'm an MBA from Harvard Business School. Also a few words about the company to give you context. Our software powers digital banks used by over 35 million people globally, mostly in Europe, where we work with many of the largest banks. Commerzbank, largest bank in Germany; Santander, largest bank in Spain, and the largest in the Eurozone. Intesa, the largest in Italy. We work with ING Direct in Australia and Spain. We work with mBank in Poland, which by many is seen as one of the most innovative banks in the world. How many of you here have heard of mBank or seen it? So a few. We are based in London, but most of our product and tech teams are in the Nordics. We are originally from Iceland. We were born out of the financial crisis in 2008, which hit Iceland hard. And there was a big demand for banks to give innovative solutions to people that had seen a big drop in purchasing power. And we were early movers in this space, but since then we've grown a lot, and now we're privileged to work with many of the leading banks in the world. We define our purpose as helping leading banks around the world personalize their digital customer experience and also help them kind of innovate on their business model, create new value and new revenue streams from the data they have in their systems. We see ourselves primarily as an innovation enabler. Yes, we sell software and technologies that speed those banks up in improving their digital channels, but we also help them think it through and design their future digital channels and so on. And it's never been a more interesting time to be in this business, because banks are now faced with more challenges, generally speaking, more disruptive threats than ever before. And in many countries, and I also see signs of that here, the banks seem to me to be picking up speed in accelerating innovation and improving their digital channels. Today's topics that I wanted to touch on. First, talk a little bit about the environment that retail banking is in, the disruptive forces that they are faced with. Second, what they are doing, and we have a lot of experience talking to many of the largest banks in the world. How should they respond? What are they doing to improve? A lot of it will be about how can they make their digital channels more engaging so that people use them daily and not just once in a while, to keep a close relationship with the customer. We'll also touch on business model innovation. Traditional banks, they make money from interest rate differential and also from fees, but they're embracing data allows for new types of business models, so there's innovation happening in retail banking business models. This is in the thinking that the digital bank is not just a place to do banking, but a place that's like an ecosystem where you're also helping people be smarter consumers and offering any service provider or retail business to come in and offer their service with the benefit of the user at heart. And also I will spend some time giving you our perspective on what does the kind of mobile and online bank of the future look like, what is personalized digital bank. We are working on several different projects with different banks, that some of which are aimed at improving their core online and mobile banking solutions, but in other cases they're launching new apps or solutions even designed to compete with their own apps. But starting with the disruptive forces. First, it should come at no surprise at a conference like this that there's a lot of activity in FinTech in the world. There's been an explosion of investment in the past few years, as you see from the chart here. It tripled from 2013 to 14 and again doubled to 15. And this year it's not growing at the same rate, it's cooling off a bit, but still at a very high level. So there's been a countless number of FinTechs in any kind of part of the financial services ecosystem have been born, and you can see that the biggest ones are payments, lending, wealth, and then all others in the other. And this puts a lot of pressure on the traditional players like retail banks. But there are other things as well. So there's a lot, very crowded space, and I think retail banks generally don't see a huge impact on their business in terms of their revenue or profits yet, but they're really worried, more worried now than we've ever seen them before, that this might be coming and they might be happening to them what happened to the music industry, that they lose out on the business, someone comes in between them and their customers. So disintermediation. Most of the banks we talk to, though, they are in the boardrooms. They're still less worried about the startups because they have various strategies to deal with them. Sometimes they can buy them or work with them if they're getting traction. But they're even more worried about the big tech companies like Facebook and Google and Amazon and Apple. And there are clear signs that those guys are interested to move into financial services. WeChat in China, the leading messenger platform there, already an enormous amount of financial transactions is happening directly there. Facebook is taking steps in a similar direction, and so on. Finally, there are some very important regulatory changes happening, at least in some parts of the world. Europe there is leading the way, and they've passed legislation, the EU, that forces banks to open up their data. Meaning that I, as a customer of a bank or a financial or insurance company, if I want to move to another bank or to a startup that has a much better mobile app or something, I can ask the bank to take the data with me. So the banks are being forced to open up free of charge APIs where I can move my data between service providers. And not just for read-only, also to authorize payments and from my accounts. So there's a lot of startups that want to now become the mobile bank of Europe and convince people not to use their online and mobile bank from their banks, but use their app instead. And they can do it when this comes. It also means that Google or Facebook will be able to get this data and do innovation. Of course, the user has to always accept it. It's a similar initiative happening in the UK called Open Banking. UK is very aggressive. They want to be the FinTech capital of the world, so they're trying to use legislation to give an edge and foster innovation. And that's working out well, and there's discussion of it in other markets. Here, I don't know, but here we have some, for example, personal finance apps that have been doing account aggregation, but that's not based on standard APIs, that's based on screen scraping the websites, which is a bit of a messy solution. But the world of open data is coming, and that's another thing that's driving banks into action. But as always, if there's disruptive forces, there's always opportunities. And but the problem with big banks, they usually are not great at executing. They know where they want to go, but fast or kind of create delightful user experiences on par with the best mobile and apps in the world, whether that's Facebook or Uber or whatnot. So a big question for them, can they transform this relationship with their customers from just simple, not very compelling apps to do simple basic banking, to something really smart, a real personal financial advisor that you want to use every day and helps you with everything related to your finances. And so banks have different strategic options in the world of this disruption and open data. So they can choose to be very conservative on the left there. I don't know if you can see this, it's very small, but it says, yeah, just basic compliance. Try to limit everyone's access to data, kind of limit the investment in the digital channels, and basically only comply with as law demands and be very passive and have a wait-and-see approach. They can also choose to embrace this openness of data and excel with their APIs and work to enable innovation on top of it. And we're seeing several examples of that in Europe, where they are opening up their APIs. BBVA is probably the best example, where they're opening up very compelling, flexible, modern APIs with various services and allowing FinTechs and others to innovate on top of them. The revenue model there is still a bit unclear, but it's very interesting. So that's basically on the left, the bank as a service, back-end service provider. But there's also a bigger opportunity in owning and expanding the customer relation and creating a much more compelling user experience using the data themselves more aggressively, because they are the ones that are in the best position to do this. Even if their mobile or online bank is crappy, it's still something you have to use once in a while. And they have also the best data to give meaningful advice and insights, even if they've been doing it in a very limited way so far. And that also brings opportunities to expand even beyond banking. And I'll show you some examples of this. So, a few of the areas where banks can create more value from their data, the data we have, I want to touch on. And some of these we are helping our banking customers with, but we also see this with other banks. So, first, using the data, you know a lot about people. You know where they're spending, you know a lot about their lives and habits, and this data can be used to create a much more personalized and compelling online banking experience. I'll show you a demo in a while to give you examples of what I mean. Secondly, there's a big opportunity to better serve small and medium enterprises. It's a topic that's close to heart. All my life I've worked in small companies. I've started 3 of them, and that's an underserved market by banks. There's a lot of opportunity in particular to help them manage their cash flows. That's a major topic for almost every small business. And they're usually busy to do it, and their accounting systems are usually not that helpful, but banks have a possibility to do so. Also, banks can offer, if they embrace the fact that they're not just providing banking, but helping people with everything regarding even being smarter consumers, they can bring in third-party offers and help people switch service providers. They can kind of fight the FinTechs or the big tech companies on their own turf, try to create an advertising ecosystem, if you will, in the online bank, where businesses can compete for people's spending where they're a valuable consumer. In a way, you can say it's about saying to people, we can help you monetize your spending history. So if you're a golfer, then golf stores and clubs will start competing for your business. If you're a traveler, then travel agencies can compete with you. But it's about doing it in a very personalized way. I'll also show you examples of this. And SME banking is one example of this value creation. And SMEs are the biggest lenders to big companies in the world. They usually get paid late. I think the average in the US is 60 days with a 30-day payment terms. In many countries in Europe, it's 90 or more than 100 days in Italy. And so it's critical for small businesses to be able to manage this cash conversion, and that's a big opportunity for banks. And we are working with the largest bank in the Nordics on a solution like this, where we take in data from accounting systems, from the bank accounts, and forecast the cash flow and give the banks tools to allow their SME customers to manage their cash flows. And then the next step is help them with their cash conversion cycles, maybe give them financing around it and so on. Tell them if their regular customers are usually 10 days late paying or if they pay on time and so on. Make it easier, not just give them a list of bank account transactions. Another opportunity is create analytics about consumer spending behavior. This is something we've done in one of our markets in cooperation with banks, because if you take a sizable sample of like a customer group of a big bank and you then anonymize the data, you know exactly what's happening in that market in different verticals in terms of spending. You can see in real time market share of different companies in different verticals. You can see the average amount they spend and so on. And this is enormously valuable data for those merchants, for those retailers, so they can benchmark to each other. Banks are uniquely positioned to provide these kinds of services to the merchants. But they have to earn the right to use the data in this way. So also they're providing this to consumers, for example, through peer comparison. A lot of people are curious to know how much they spend compared to other people that are similar to them, like live in the same neighborhood or have similar income. That's functionality that we've built with many banks, and most people are curious to know that and think it's only fair that their data is used in such an anonymized way if they get that benefit themselves. What I mentioned, card-linked offers as part of digital banking. Card-linked offers is this space of giving you offers like discounts or cashback discounts, but based on your spending profile. So not like blanket offers from hundreds of businesses, but only offers in the stores that you can already shop in or similar stores. So use the intelligence, your spending habits to know which offers are relevant to you. And this is a revenue opportunity for banks, but more so it's an opportunity to create engagement. We've been running a card-linked offers program in our pilot market in Iceland. We use Iceland as the country we started. It has a tiny population, but it's a great way to test things. And we have worked with all the banks there. 1 in 4 households in that country uses our software, and we've been running this with banks, combining offers with online banking, and we have achieved extremely good metrics in terms of conversion rates. People really don't perceive this as advertising or offers, they perceive this more as my bank is just helping me spend smarter. And it's making money for the bank, and the advertisers, the merchants that are participating are also really happy, in some cases spending more money on this platform than they are on Facebook and Google ads. Because for certain things, this is a much more compelling way to. But what I'm going to spend most time on is the actual digital banking user experience, personalized digital banking. That's what we specialize in, and we're part of many very interesting, innovative, and very different projects in different parts of the world. What it kind of entails on a high level is most online banks, as I mentioned before, they focus on core banking functions only. It's a place to do banking. It's where you can see your transactions, or move money, or pay bills, or do whatever it is that you could do in a branch. And that's a major focus of banks, is making sure that all of these things, and they should of course make that easy to do online, both in the mobile and online. But there's more. That doesn't get you to a daily engagement. If you combine it, however, with if you think of the bank as not just a place to facilitate banking, but also a place to become this virtual advisor in anything finance related, be a smarter consumers, and you mix in personal finance insights and various tools and services to help people understand and manage their money, and also offers and kind of means for people to optimize their spending, then you can get a much higher quality, more frequent engagement in the bank's channels. So what I'm going to focus on here and show you a demo of two of our kind of flagship innovations. One is what we call the financial activity feed. This is a Facebook-like feed, basically a timeline that's designed mainly for the mobile, that tells you the story of your finances as it unfolds. In a similar way as when you're reading Facebook, it's telling you your story of what's happening in your social network. as it unfolds. It's not like Facebook in the sense that it's super social. You're not sharing your money issues necessarily with other people, but it's in the sense that how you consume it in a completely effortless way. It's telling you what's happening, so all your transactions are there, but it's interpreting it as it goes and giving you an appropriate level of advice and insights and interesting things. And part of that, we have what we call these automated user events, which are various types of dialogues or messages that the bank is having with their customers about their finances, designed to help them better understand and also make smarter choices, both with regards to bank's product, but also potentially with third-party offers. And I think the best way to give you a good sense is just to show it to you. I hope it's going to be large enough here on this screen. You can see this. So this is my iPhone, and I'm actually showing you my personal app that I'm using. I spend half my time in London and half my time in Reykjavik, Iceland, where we've been testing many things, and this is the app that I have in Iceland. Yes.
Thank you. And so this is connected to all my current accounts, credit cards, savings, and I can combine these accounts from different banks. We work with all the banks in a kind of an ecosystem way. And while this is a standalone mobile app, the same type of feed and functionality is also available in the actual mobile banking apps. So this is the only market where we both B2B work with banks and help them improve their solutions, and we also have a B2C solution. It's because we use this as a test and pilot market. In all other countries, we're only B2B with the banks, so you understand the context. But the heart of this, so once it has the data from my accounts and all my spending, and spouses can also combine, and households for a joint household view. The heart of this is this timeline or a Facebook-like feed. So you can see here I'm scrolling, it has the dates. If I expand one day, like Friday for example, it shows me, okay, I had 6 transactions. The first one, for example, is my local grocery store. Everything is automatically categorized into spending categories. I can swipe if I want to change the category, but I don't want to do that. Everything there I can drill down. If I drill down into this transaction, I can see my history in the groceries category. How much have I been spending? What's my average? I can also see my history with this particular merchant. And if I want to, I can set a budget or a spending limit and ask the system to notify me when I reach my budget in that category or for that merchant. And we find that maybe a third of people want to do that, but the majority doesn't. Yeah, some people don't want to know, and that's fine. But mixed in between those transactions, you also see various other types of content. So, and these are the user events I mentioned. So this is a combination of normal online banking notifications, like for example, I got money in my account. So yeah, my brother was transferring money to me or something. I was reimbursing me, and so that's part of it. Part of it is also kind of summarizing and creating kind of interesting and insightful inferences. Like some of it is like Swarm or Foursquare. Like this one says, I have 30 transactions with this store in 1 year, so I'm a regular. and I can see all my transactions here and my total spending. Some of them say, okay, this is your first time at the store. Some of it, then there are weekly and monthly summaries. So I always get weekly summaries to see where my money went each week. Like I spent 22,000 crowns in these 3 transactions in that week. Part of it is also notifying me about any kind of suspicious transactions or unusual activity. If there's unusually high transactions or something that doesn't fit, these are flagged. And some of these users themselves can control. Another type of notification, and here's an example of an offer. Let me show you another one. On Tuesday, September 27th, I got this offer from this fast food place called Lemon, offering me 40% cash back on all purchases until October 26th, and I've already used this offer. And it tells me how much I've saved already. And if I kind of drill down into the offer, it has the offer details, but it's also super transparent on why I'm getting this offer. It says why this offer, and it says this company wants to compete for your business. So I'm getting this offer precisely because I spend sometimes in fast food. I'm a valuable customer to have for fast food places, but I haven't gone to this place. So the service provider behind sourcing those offers, armed with analytics, talks to the merchants and offers them to do aggressive introductory offer, but only to people that are kind of likely to be interested in them because they already spend in similar merchants or similar categories. That's an introductory offer. There are other types like loyalty offers. Then it would say, why do you see this? Because they're grateful for your business. Or it could be a rescue offer. You see this because they miss you. You haven't been there for 6 months. You used to be a regular, and so on. And all I have to do to redeem this is just to go there and spend with any card or from any bank that is connected to the system. There's no coupons, there's nothing that the people, the clerks at the stores don't even have to know about this offer. And then I get it paid into my account every month. So this is an example of what I think is a future of loyalty programs and offers in a super personalized way. And notice that I only get like 1 offer a week, and I have maybe 3 to 5 offers active every time. So I perceive it more, and I use a lot of them. We have more than 10% conversion rate, meaning people that see the offers actually change the buying behavior and redeem them. That's super high, but that's also because we control the quality. We don't allow in offers unless they are deep discounts or deeper than the normal offers. And the reason we can convince merchants to give deep discounts and quality offers is that we can prove that for these segments that see them, it's a valuable proposition. Even if they're making no money or even losing money during the offer campaign, because these are deep discounts, we can tell them, and so we can prove this ROI over time. So it's a very compelling data-driven proposition for both the merchant and the user. And we've spent a lot of time investing in this and convincing ourselves that we've created economic value. We've only deployed this in the tiny market of Iceland yet, but we're now planning launches with cooperation with 2 major banks in 2 major European countries, Sweden and one other country next year, where this will become basically part of the bank's digital channel. But of course, doing this is a substantial undertaking for a bank. It means also there needs to be a local team in place to source these offers and engage with the merchants. And so in one case we are doing that kind of with the banks. In other cases we are partnering with companies that have relations to merchants to source those offers. But it's the opportunity is to create in the online bank a major advertising ecosystem that can even rival Google's and Facebook's if it's done right, because the data relying on spending history is so compelling for certain types of offers. Of course, if you want to buy a new TV, you Google it, then Google is the natural place to have an ad. But if it's about optimizing your regular expenses, finding better utility providers and so on, then basing it on your actual spending profile is the right way. So that should give you some idea of the user experience. So this feed also acts as a kind of gateway into other types of functionality. So we're working with banks they create their own user events or content in this feed, so that they can recommend their own products. If people want to do budgeting, they can be events that advise them to the budget section and so on. But switching back to the presentation. Very modern mobile design that we like has still some version of a personalized interactive notifications and nudges, whether you present it in a timeline or feed or in different ways. Of course there are options, but this is one way that we really like. Basically it's a way that the vision here is to facilitate a highly personalized dialogue between the bank and its customers, to keep them very close, keep people coming every day. Even if they're not doing any big financial planning, it's still the summaries, the interpretations are interesting enough so that people like this much more than their normal online and mobile bank. We work with our customers also to define their own events based on the strategic objectives of the banks. For example, some banks want to promote savings or more into savings products, so it's about using the data to better make those recommendations to the right people. Also, it's critical that engagement is measured. There's a lot of talk about the importance of engagement, but surprisingly few often are actually measuring it. And that's a key thing. And for example, we recommend doing it in a similar way as Facebook does it. You launch things first to maybe a few hundred people, see what happens, see how many people interact with the things you do, and then if that's okay, you expand to maybe 100,000 and then to millions, and then finally you roll it out to everyone. And you might, in some cases, do A/B testing and comparison groups and so on, but it's essential that testing is built into it. All these user events that we have in the feed, we test them. If only 1% clicks them or is interested in them, we don't use them. If we see that a substantial number likes them and uses them, then good. And we also measure what's the appropriate amount of dialogue or events or messages that we push to people. If you do too many, it starts feeling like spam, so you have to guard the quality of this really well. Few things here in the end, and then we can open up for questions if you have some. Just some examples of some leading banks and their strategies that they're taking in light of these changes and disruptive forces. First, BBVA. BBVA is one of the largest banks in Europe, active in Latin America and Spain and many countries. They've been super aggressive in trying to transform themselves almost into a tech company. They've had big statements that they're trying to basically transform them into a company that has, like the big tech companies. And so they want to be much better at actually building great software, great technology. That's been a major priority for a few years. But they've also taken a very aggressive partnership approach. So they're partnering with a lot of FinTech companies. They've bought several of them, both to get skill set, to get people into the kind of strong innovators, but also to have new types of services and speed them up. One of the main things they're doing is all their data, they're trying to expose it as an API to the world, so that fintechs and others can innovate on top of this data and create new services for the customers. So their thinking is we should not do all of this ourselves, but we should also enable innovation from others and kind of make our data available.
The business case there, how they kind of charge for this or the monetization is a bit unclear, but these are very interesting and aggressive steps. Another one that we know well is, we don't work with BBVA, but we like a lot of what they're doing. Another one that we do work with is Santander. They've established a major 200 million euro FinTech fund to invest in FinTech companies where they can work with them to bring things to market. Like the most prominent example is they recently launched a joint venture in the UK with Cabot, one of the leading SME kind of lending FinTech companies in the US, and they invested in Cabot at the same time. And similarly, they have made a global agreement with my company, Meniga, to kind of roll out personal finance management functionality and insights similar to what I showed you in all their online and mobile banking markets. Last one is Toronto Dominion Bank in Canada. That's also representative for some bank strategies. They chose to work with a company called Moven, which is led by Brett King, which some of you might have heard of. And Moven is a straight-to-consumer personal finance management app in the US, but in other markets they pursue partnerships. So in Canada, Toronto Dominion is now their exclusive partner. So they're launching this app, and it lives alongside their mobile banking app, so it's separate, but so in a way they're competing with themselves. But they're making linkages between, like for example, you have in Facebook and Facebook Messenger, you sometimes jump between those apps, so they're trying to do that same thing. One of the reasons some of these banks do this is because they just know that we cannot do this fast enough with our own IT, either for political reasons or because of our legacy systems or because of the lack of capability in the IT organization or whatever it is. And then sometimes the solution is to launch new, from the scratch application that even competes with the old bank. And but there are other versions, but these are some examples. So final slide here is in summary, when we're talking to these banks, what are we advising them to do? How should they be reacting to the coming world of open data and these disruptive threats? First, generally we think they should embrace open data, go beyond compliance and really step up the game to defend the relationship with the customers, provide a much better user experience than today. Become obsessed about user experience. Second, be bold in the use of data. I gave you some examples, but there's enormous opportunities to banks to intelligently and responsibly use data to create a much more compelling user experience, better advice, better recommendation, because they have the best data of any entity about your financial lives. Of course, they have to do so carefully and earn the right to do it and be transparent in how it's done. And we recommend that they always should operate from the perspective of the consumer owns his or her own data. And you ask for permission for what you do, but if you do that well, then everyone's happy. We've seen that like with the offers. Northern Europe is very sensitive about privacy and use of data. We were worried that there might be some online banking users who were saying, okay, you're using my data to make money of me, that's not okay, but we had almost nothing. And of that, less than 0.5% opted out of the program. And the reason is, we believe that we were successful in communicating and showing you how it works, and because these are high quality offers, everyone likes it. And it's clear how it's done, how it works, so then everyone's happy. And because the offers are part of a larger concept of a financial advisor, so it's just seen in that context rather than as spammy advertising. Third, we encourage banks to work with agile fintechs. We are one, of course, we see ourselves as a mature startup company, but there's a lot of opportunity to move faster, to work with fintechs. We see many banks, like in the UK, have special programs for small startups to get them started because it's not easy to work with big banks. So a lot of interesting solutions have come out of that. Fourth, you don't have to be the best, biggest, you don't have to be Apple in terms of innovation of new concepts and user experience. Just follow the best practice. Avoid reinventing the wheel, but apply best practice to your own platform. If you, for example, the financial activity feed I showed you is not in a sense new innovation. You could say it was invented by Facebook or someone before that, and it's used by running apps and personal health apps and so on. This is not a new concept, but it's one of these ways that people really like consuming information. So it's about copying these proven things and doing it really well in the context of banking, something that banks have been bad at. And finally, move faster, do everything you can, change the organization if necessary to get more aggressive in moving faster. We see too many projects in banks that start or never finish, or when they finish 2 or 3 years later, they're obsolete and they're not maintained, so this just doesn't work. You have to find ways to do it so you can launch in some months and not more, and then continually measure and upgrade. And that might need more than just putting in place technical project, also maybe some organizational changes to foster to make sure that happens. That's that's all we have time for today. But happy to answer questions if you have some. I think we have only a few minutes though. Yes.
George, right?
Yes.
George, this is quite an exciting topic for me. I get excited when we look at building capabilities for a digital age. I've got so many questions, I'm going to limit it just to 2, and maybe we can catch up after the session is done.
Yeah.
2 questions. Meniga, that's how you pronounce the name of your company.
Yes, Meniga.
What exactly is it? Is it an integrator in the whole ecosystem? Is it a platform? Or is it actually a means that you provide intelligence and use of data to provide that insights for banks? That's one. And secondly, do you have any plans to have presence in South Africa?
Yeah. So we are primarily so we're a software company. We sell software solutions to banks. So we license our software. Banks that work with us typically deploy the software on premise. It's a software solution that comes takes data from back-end systems, from core banking systems, from credit card systems, from all the systems, cleans it up in grid. So there's a data platform with an API. Some banks, we work with them just build on top of this API. This becomes one of the key APIs to drive the next generation bank. We also provide a lot of front-end solutions like I showed you examples of, and we share this with our customers. They can use those concepts, they can take the source code and modify it. In some cases they do it very similar, some cases they do it very differently. But we come on as consultants typically to help them design those solutions, design the new user experience. That's one of our core competencies. And and your second question, yes, we have Meniga does not have an office here, but we have some partners here. For example, we're presenting here today with one small system integrator company, MDM Technologies, but we also we have all the partners, and we have two customers here, one bank and one and Momentum, the insurance company. So we're here once in a while. Thank you.
Hi, George. I just want to find out, your focus seems to be on banks.
Yes, mostly.
Mostly. Do you, by any chance, have vision to be looking at the middleman that services the SME directly? Currently, I work for one of the funders that basically looks at funding SMEs. And the greatest challenge that we find ourselves with is that SMEs have issues with managing their cash flows.
Yes.
So this for me sounds like something that could also be extended to that type of facility, which makes it very easy for us to be able to give our SMEs that particular analytic sort of a platform for them to be able to extend their companies to be much bigger.
Yeah.
Are you able to provide a service at that level and not just at a bank level?
Yes, I mean we do work. We have some customers that are non-banks, and that's something we could certainly look at. We're happy to speak about that after this talk. But still, I mean the heart of the system is based on transaction processing, getting data from bank accounts and credit cards, having a holistic view. And so when we work with banks, then that's easier in the sense that then you have access to the data, you integrate with those systems. If you're working outside the bank, you either have to agree with the banks to get the data, or you have to get the data in with other means, which is possible. We, for example, have been running an account aggregation service here in South Africa with a cooperation with Momentum, which is not a bank, but they're an insurance company, for a solution, personal finance management solution, helping their insurance advisors give personal finance tools to their customers. It's not a mainstream solution, but it's for their advisors. So yeah, there are possibilities, but we need to understand more details. We're happy to have that conversation afterwards.
Hi, George.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I just got distracted. Just a quick one. In working with banks, and I think South Africa is quite a diverse country as well, totally different to Europe, but I think we're getting there. We still have quite a large group of people that do not necessarily have bank accounts, of which, of course, in us trading with them, we definitely making a lot of money with them. But just looking around the innovative space in working with the banks and trying to entice them, of course, in getting into the banking part of things, so that, of course, I mean, it makes our lives easier as well. Are you looking into such? Well, I guess now just having a footprint in South Africa, is it something that you're working on? Is it something that you would consider?
Is what precisely?
Is it something, working with the banks, is it something that you would be considering in terms of allowing that innovative space, or enticing the banks to get more innovative ideas and enticing those customers to basically have bank accounts?
Yeah, I mean, for example, we're now part of one project in France where there was a neobank, if you will, so a very simple direct bank that started there years ago, very successful, just to target unbanked people, relatively few in France compared to South Africa, but still some groups, so they're targeting them. Very simple products, very easy to use interfaces, very bank accounts that you get a card, but you could never be overdrawn. But then they found there was a lot of, and we found that some of the things we do with the transaction analysis and helping people understand and manage the money, they are very relevant in that kind of proposition. So yes, I think some of the things we're doing can work in such a proposition.
Hi, George. I've just Googled some information on open data just to get a bit more understanding. And there was just a brief article on, Technology Wiki, and they said that this will give access to people to actually edit their information. So whether you move addresses, you can edit that information. What will be the standard in terms of authentication that this person's address or this person's ID is actually that person? When we look at open data, what will be the standard across the board to say that this is correct? Will there be a ledger that everybody confirms with? What will the standard be?
No, that's a good question. I don't think there's a clear answer exists to it. I mean, what we're seeing, like in Europe, that it could be kind of show the way for other countries. It's unclear when this will happen, but and in the financial sector in Europe, there are different countries, even though there's a pan-European legislation, different countries are adopting and working on different standards to share the banking data, the transactions from your bank account, from credit cards, and to facilitate payments. I think some of them will be similar, but that is not, the legislation says what has to be done, but there's still work in progress to implement this and choose the standards. But this is it's one of the big questions of our time. I mean, open data and privacy and so on. So, and ensuring that the data is safe. Special companies that we become custodians of data, where you can manage release of your data to different service providers, whether they're banks or others. And but that's, I think we're still at a very early stage in that evolution.
Sorry, I'm still a bit confused. Are you an extraction tool, or do you actually do the data analytics? So if I go around a different way, do the banks have to have a data strategy that you can piggyback off Or do you actually go in with the analytics?
Yeah, we have part of the analytics. So when banks deploy our solutions, they implement them, they connect their data, our systems enrich and categorize and clean them up and add a lot of business logic. So yes, the analytics.
You're the extraction tool rather than the actual data analytics.
Yeah, we're both extraction and analytics for certain types of data, yes.
But if the bank doesn't have a data lake or something like that, then you can't actually work with them.
Well,
they have to have a strategy in place first.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a lot of experience integrating with even old legacy systems. I mean, the data resides somewhere in some systems. So it's just a question of, is it a big effort or small effort? If all the data is already in a modern data lake system, then it's relatively easy to put our system in place on the back end. If not, then it's a bit more effort, but we're experts in doing that.
Yeah, but so in some of our banks here, you've got so many legacy systems sitting behind it.
Yeah.
So you can't actually extract that data.
And then that's the difficulty.
Well, if it's there in the online bank, then there's some way to get it out. And in the online bank, you at least have the transactions. And but of course, there are sometimes limitations.
And do you look at unstructured data as well as structured data?
Yes. Yeah, it depends on what you mean, but yes, in some cases. I mean, the user events are based on machine learning type segmentation of user group to give different people different messages.
So that cognitive computing.
Well, no, we're not doing a lot of that, but that's something, yeah, we are looking at. We have, one of the experts in that in the world in our board, but it's doing more simple things first. Okay. Yeah, I think we are a little bit beyond here in the time, but thank you again for attending. And don't hesitate to come find us at the booth or now if we will have a larger discussion.